send him out to talk to all the businesses. I'm sure he would be able to draw somebody.
It's like we're on Facebook now, so that's what
Yeah.
we're on Facebook Live.
Or Jim, do you think that would work the other way? We might be running for cover.
We'll be the guy who said we got one. Yeah, we'll send it right now.
Yeah, okay.
Send it
Good,
right
good
now.
point. Good point.
It's always the last place you look.
Last place selected. But she gave a good smack.
Neither can I, Jim. I'm scarred for life.
That's what I did.
You really did right.
I don't know if the light's on or not. The switch might be on, but I don't know if the light's on.
I do like her hat.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did you have to slip him a note?
No, I was looking at that clock.
I see. Okay. All right. Very good.
Excuses,
Got to say aye.
All right.
Should have said we, or we.
When you hear the gavel, you got to roll.
All righty. Roll call.
Rosenberg,
Present.
Mallard,
Here.
Albrecht. He's here.
He's here.
Lotz,
Here.
Phony,
Here.
Small here,
Here.
Monroe,
Here.
Hudson,
Here.
Vorse.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Parchment.
Here.
Van Hook.
Here.
I don't know if he's on yet. Is Tide on? I don't see him on.
Carney.
Beg your pardon? No.
Hello,
Jerry. Jerry.
I am here.
Did I miss you?
Yeah.
Good.
And put me down as here.
Oh, yeah, I got you as here. I was taken by the jingle bells.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, everybody's received a copy of the minutes of our December 4th meeting. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, roll call.
On the minutes?
Okay, we'll skip the roll call. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right. Okay, there is no public hearing tonight. There's no city presentation. We will move into the first phase of our public comments. Again, I ask anybody who comes forth to please keep their remarks to 5 minutes. You can address anything that we have on the agenda or any other subject matter that you would like to address to the council. If you have any written format or anything, please submit that to Misty, and she will make sure that it gets passed out. If we're able to answer some questions at the very end, we will try to do so. If we cannot, we'll be more than happy to meet with you individually and go over any of the questions that you may have. We do ask that you, since this is a business meeting, that you do conduct yourself with civility and decorum. And please state your name and what ward, or if you're representing a company, what company you're representing. So with that, does anybody have any comments that they would like to make at this time?
Vern Malaire, you all know me from Ward 3. Looking over your agenda tonight, it's very interesting. Well, it's getting cut to the chase, I guess. On your resolutions 7.2 in regards to the improvements out at the park. In your contract, looking through it, On page 3, it refers to the building cost of $4.1 million. On page 11, it calls for $75,000 for a lump sum. On page 25 is the first part where the mayor signs off on. Page 26 deals with, slash, it also occurs on page 1 of that page, is an additional and deletion report for $4,100,000. Then again on page 30, also notated in it as page 5, $75,000 for a lump sum. Then on page 33, also known as page 8 in the real paperwork, the mayor signs off for another $4,100,000, giving you a grand total of $8,350,000 for the contract you're about to sign tonight. I want to know if my figures are correct, incorrect, or how far off I am.
Thank you, sir. Is that your only comment?
No, I've got plenty more, but
Go ahead.
I mean, you furnished Jerry, oh, excuse me, not supposed to mention an alderman's name, an alderman from your, at the committee meeting was asked about a piece of paper that would have all the information on it. And with that piece of paper, I did find out, I pulled it up, and a friend of mine printed off one for me. I did find out the donation factor on the assisted playing ground equipment out of the park for donations were $88,550. And I appreciate getting that information, finding that out. The points also brought forward also in the warrant report tonight. You have another from the page 8 in regards to your architectural service. You got another $154,652 and change, and then you had added to what you're already doing. And I don't understand, you know, where you're sending this to, because I understand what you're spending, and you're knocking out a bunch of trees out there, and with a new road for a walking path or 10-foot wide or whatever, is going to take some more trees out. And you haven't even stuck a shovel in the ground, and on the other paperwork it says you're over 19 million already. And I think before you even stick a shovel in the ground, you're going to be at 25 million. Just food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else have any comments? Yes, sir.
Bronze Elms, Ward 6. I swear, Vern and I are not a tag team, although it seems like that. In regards to the professional services contract with Holland and Knight, I know a year ago you passed one with them for the pool. I guess what concerns me, all told, by the time you have a $75,000 here and a $75,000 there and a 4.75% construction management fee, that's almost $1 million on a no-bid contract. That concerns me, but I know professional services, you don't have to bid them. But that is an expense that doesn't show anywhere up here on this recap page that I ought to be expensed somewhere. Yeah, and then you got, I guess it's about $100,000 for the architects as well. So all told, I figured you got maybe 1.1 million that of an additional cost that I don't see factored into the recap sheet that you did provide. And I do want to thank the staff for providing that. That's the first place I've seen this all at one place. And I was a little bit shocked with the total cost. And I was really shocked with how much was going to have to come out of reserves. Almost $6 million out of general fund. I don't know if eventually the Parks Fund will reimburse that over the years. I don't know. I would hope so. And, you know, all told about $8 million out of reserves. When you spend the money out of reserves, you don't have it later on for something you really might need as well. People always get up here and talk about flooding in the neighborhoods, things like that. And I really, at this point, I will just tell you this, I won't sit on my hands anymore when I hear the answer from, from the staff to you or the staff to a citizen that says, well, it's something we can't do because it's not in the budget. You can do whatever you want. The city has money, obviously, based on what I see here. If you're willing to dig into reserves, over $8 million. If it's important, you can fund it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else have any comments? Hearing or seeing none, then I think we'll move on to my own remarks at this point, unless the clerk has anything.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing tonight, thank you.
All right. I would like to ask Mr. Hudson if he would please make a motion on 6.1 on the reappointment of Scott Bloomberg.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for reappointment of Scott Bloomberg to the Building Code Review Board for a 5-year term expiring 2028.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call.
Mylard.
Yes.
Albrecht. Yes. Lotz.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Phony.
Yes.
Smallhair.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, Fire Chief White has been out on a call and is not able to be here, so I did want to wish him a happy birthday. He's out taking care of some citizens tonight, so. City offices will be closed on December 25th for Christmas and January 1st for the New Year's holiday. There will be no committee meetings on December 25th, 26th, or any city council meeting on January 1st or January 2nd. The next committee meetings will be held on January 8th, and the next city council meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 16th. There will be an executive session tonight to discuss the possibility of the sale of city property. And before I wish everybody a happy holidays, I'd also want to acknowledge that our treasurer, Mr. Hersey, is present. But then I would like to wish everybody and their families a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope they have an opportunity to get together and enjoy one another's companies, as I know my family will. And I hope that you also have a safe and joyful new year, and that 2024 brings some very positive things in everybody's direction, and including that of the city. So, with that said, I will move on into resolutions. Mr. Campbell, 7.1, please.
Make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Demond Signs for the installation of the Illini Trail sign package in the amount of $66,475.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Lotz.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Phony.
Yes.
Smallhair.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Affirmative.
Mylard.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Albrecht, 7.2, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I propose we pass a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the city of O'Fallon and Holland Construction Management for the construction management of the replacement of the KB Cavens Community Center.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I have something
Yes,
I'd like
ma'am.
to say. So I intend to support both items tonight that are coming before the council in support of the community enhancement project. I like this project. I like that when it's done, we'll have a modern, inviting space for residents, but I also know at the same time we continue to dream big and plan concepts for the sports park, which is utilized a lot by visitors. So I like the balance. And I'm also really proud that when you look at the current design, we can point to specific things that are in there because residents provided input, even as recently as 2 months ago at the microphone, and council members have provided input. So I'm proud that you can look at that and say, staff asked and they listened. But I'll admit I am frustrated. And after last Monday night's Parks Committee meeting, I was really frustrated because the problem is not that we don't have enough information. The problem is that we lack consistent and efficient communication about that information. It is not satisfactory to me that we open a meeting, we provide a little bit of an update, and then we kind of wait until the wheels fall off the meeting before somebody pushes the pause button and says, wait a minute, let's regroup. Let's talk about how we got to where we are. And I'm more frustrated with that because for the last 3 years, I've met with Walter and advocated for a communication style that's different than that. I would like to see us take the time and energy that gets put into an FAQ to help build the picture, talk about how we got to where we are. But instead of doing that 2/3 of the way through a project after several public meetings, let's take that same energy and put it at the front of the process and help residents and help council members kind of provide context to what we're being asked to do. Talk about the history, talk about prior master plans and kind of what the council was thinking at that point, and that'll help us decide if what's being presented, even though it's different, is relevant or not. And so I'm frustrated because I've been asking for us to do things differently. And I met with Walter just the other day, and I said, you know, I've kind of done this the Jessica way the last couple years. I've gone behind closed doors, I've asked for it, I've advocated for it, and it's at the point now where you know, I'm putting it out there because I expect it. I want that context and that painting the picture to happen before we get into a project. And then I would like for it to happen. I think it's reasonable that every time there's an agenda item where we're voting on it or where there's just an update, that somebody provides a 3 to 5 minute recap. In the military, they call it a briefing, like, tell us again how we got to where we are. So when you have residents that you know, start engaging in the process 3 public meetings in, it can't just be an update. And I feel like the council would benefit from that repetition of, here's how we got to where we are. The process started 4 years ago with this, this, and this, and it's gone through all those evolutions. So I just wanted to share that that's my expectation moving forward. I hope that it's offered, and if it's not, during committee meetings and council meetings, I'm gonna ask for it. I'll say, can we just pause before we get into this and provide us a little bit more context to help us understand kind of how we got to where we are. So with all of that said, I intend to support the 2 agenda items tonight because I really do like the park projects. And I just wanted to share that I will behave a little differently moving forward because I think where we've ended the last couple meetings has shown that we need that as a community. So thank you.
Thank you. Jerry?
Yeah, I have 2 comments. So first is, after the long attached contract, there's a time schedule, but it's called the City of O'Fallon Community Park Enhancement Pre-Construction Schedule, and it covers everything that we're talking about on here. Not just the contract that's for the replacement of the Katie Caven Center. So I'm not sure what the contract covers. I don't know. What are we talking about? This goes back to exactly what Jessica said. And I couldn't have said it better, but there's a whole lot of other, thank you, the staff did a great job on that, putting together that timeline. That's fine, except that nowhere have we ever sat down and looked at this thing that's morphed from a replacement of the swimming pool into a $19 million project. Now, we don't have to fund all of that because we've got a grant or 2. But the whole thing has gotten, in my view, has gotten out of hand. We should have stopped and said, here's what we're gonna do, and here's what it's gonna cost, and here's where we're gonna get the money. The first time we saw that was right on this sheet. We saw pieces of it, and every one of those pieces made sense. But when you put it all together, we are being asked to approve an expenditure of about $19 million of the public's money. Is that the best place to put it?
Walter, you want to explain that this is not the expenditure of 19 million right now, but is asking for Holland to lead this and go out and get bids and so forth.
Well, so this construction management contract is in addition to the construction management contract that was made with Holland Construction a year ago to do the pool, and now they are doing the Caven Center at the same time. So you can have consistency in construction management for the entire project, which is why you have a timeline at the end of this contract for both the pool, the event space, and the Caven Center, is because they are doing the construction management for the entire project. So they're providing an update on the timeline for everything that's involved. And that's for $75,000 for the Caven Center, which is in addition to the work that they already started a year ago on the pool and amphitheater project. The costs for the $19 million were presented at a previous Finance Administration Committee meeting, and the numbers that were included in the sheet for today are the same as the ones that were provided back in September. So
Okay.
I think all of those numbers have been presented, and then the resolution that was on October 2nd for use of reserves for the Caven Center and new Caven Center and the events space were made with the assumptions of those numbers that were provided at that time.
Thank you. Jerry, an answer? Ross? Jerry, do you have another question? Ross?
Well, I was just going to add, one, I agree with what Jessica said, but none of this is new. We have talked about every piece of what's in here. It's just been piecemeal. It's not been put together in one chronological, logical talking paper or memo or something. Nothing that's on this has just popped up. So we've talked about the funding source, we've talked about all of it before, it's just now being put together. But I do agree with Jessica that the way that we're kind of almost putting the cart before the horse with some of the information and the way that it's being presented. So I'm going to support it as well, but none of this is new information. It's all been talked about at least once, if not multiple times.
Jerry, do you have anything else?
No.
No. Okay.
Can I offer a
Nope.
comment on the
Yes, ma'am.
funding? I see it a little differently than I think some other people have, because I dislike the word of cash reserves in this place. It's really cash on hand. I mean, I recall several years ago, staff coming to us and saying, we've got like $20 to $25 million of projects that have been identified through different community outreach programs, and we don't have identified funding sources for those. So we, in my recollection, we intentionally started setting money aside for unfunded projects. And if I look back on that list, several of those unfunded projects are being completed. So I think when we hear the word cash reserves, we think that that's money we've saved for a rainy day. But my recollection is we did what, and my hope government does, and that is listen to the residents about what they want, identify funding, save for it, and then build what you said you were going to build. So I don't see it as cash reserves in the sense that, you know, we're setting it aside in case of that rainy day. It's my recollection we intentionally planned for this, and we have the cash to pay for it.
Well, and it's a combination thereof. It's a combination of what you're saying, and then there is a reserve that is set aside in case our city would run into an emergency that we need to deal with, and we can. So, good point. Any other questions?
The
Yes, sir.
850,000 on here that's out of the Bill O'Fallon Trust Fund is what you're talking about. It's the thing we talked about before, that we put the COVID money in that and use that for strategic projects on down the road, which I agree. I thought was the kind of thing to get identified as we look at the projects, the things that are unfunded, and then we pick, there was a parking lot up here that we didn't fund because we didn't want to use that fund for it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, the Bill O'Fallon Trust was a piece of that. We do intentionally set that money aside with the new sales tax, but I also recall, you know, Sandy and staff being directed to set aside cash funds over the last few years to be used for unfunded projects. That's separate than the Bill O'Fallon Fund.
that's, I think, the strategic plan fund, isn't it?
Well, I think even just in the operating fund, I mean, if you
Right.
look at the cash on hand in the operating fund, it's intentionally grown to a point where my recollection is the money was to be spent on community projects.
So if you look at the treasurer's report that is issued every month from the Finance Administration Committee, you have reserves that are set aside for emergencies, and there's a 10% emergency reserve, and that's for rainy day funds. And then, as Councilmember Lott said, there is money that is raised as cash on hand for times that the city wants to spend things. You may recall the latest fire station number 4 was built with cash reserves or cash on hand, however you want to say it. And so we did not have to issue bonds to do that project. We paid for that out of cash that we had, that we had saved up.
If there's no other questions, if there's no other comments, roll call.
Lotz.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Foney.
Yes.
Smallhair.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Affirmative.
Mylart.
Yes.
Albrecht.
No.
Mr. Albrecht, 7.3, please.
Mr. Mayor, I propose we pass a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of O'Fallon and Gleason Asphalt for the construction of the Community Park Regional Trail improvements in the amount of $469,923.40 based on the unit price bid.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Yes, Roy?
Okay, we've talked about this before, but I've never really seen a good layout of what this is in the park. We never got what the actual path is. We're spending $469,000 for this. You know, I think it would be better if we would have got an actual layout of this. I do support it, don't get me wrong, but I would like to see what it is and where it's at for spending that much money.
Andrew, would you like to respond? Because a lot of that is a repavement of the existing paths around the park.
Yeah.
And it's, I believe it's also spelled out in one of the maps that was made available to the council.
Yeah.
It was spelled out, and the map is in the information.
Yeah, so this was obviously approved a year and a half ago. We've been working on it. We did put the map together, I believe it was at the October Parks and Environment meeting, where it went through a lot of the projects, and then the map was also displayed at the open house. So we've seen the map a couple of times, and I'm more than happy to share it with you again and sit down and have a conversation. But I think the original, first time you might have seen it, or was either September or October Parks and Environment meeting, where you saw the first rendering.
Andrew,
Yes, sir.
there's a diagram in board docs that shows the layout. Is that the layout?
No.
Yes, it's nice board.
That's what I'm,
docs, it is the layout.
see, here we are again with communication. I'm hearing up here, no, it's not, and then you're telling me it is.
The one in tonight's meeting is the layout for the trail. That was on the bid documents, and that's what was bid on.
It's labeled Community Park Trail. It's PDF, correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just, is the sidewalk gonna stay on the outside of that? Is that gonna be inside the sidewalk, or is that gonna? Sorry, Andrew.
Most of the sidewalk will be demoed. There are parts around the park where we left the sidewalk because as residents exit their vehicle, walk over the curb. We wanted them to get right to the sidewalk so they could travel to the baseball fields, as opposed to walking through 8 to 10 foot of grass to get to the trail. So depending on where you're at in the park, at some points the trail, and then at some points there's a sidewalk in the trail.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
It just dawned on me, you and I talked before, you and I talked before with the new All Abilities Playground or Champions Playground, whatever. This is gonna go right on the other side of those big rocks?
Yeah, so what happens right now is you see we have the rocks ramped up to
Right.
prevent tripping, so that trail will actually be elevated. It'll be parallel and level with the sidewalk it is now, so you'll have the 8-foot trail, and then you'll have the 4-foot sidewalk that's there now.
Just making sure, thanks.
Very good.
One question to you, Andrew. As far as maintenance goes, like how many years will this last, this trail?
Yeah, we'll have to reseal it every 5 years, maybe 7, which is typically what we do with all our trails.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Carney,
Yes.
Foney,
Yes.
Smallhair,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
Affirmative?
Mylard,
Yes.
Albrecht.
No.
Lots.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move to ordinance for the first reading. Mr. Campbell, 8.1, please.
Propose a motion to consider on first reading an ordinance amending the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code, Chapter 150, Section 150.05, Amendment 6.03, non-residential commercial occupancy permit requirements.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call.
Foney,
Yes.
Smallhair,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
Affirmative?
Mylard,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Lots.
Yes.
Carney,
Yes.
Thank you. Move to ordinances for second reading. Mr. Rosenberg, 9.1, please.
Thank you, sir. Hang on, I gotta scroll here for a second, sorry. I'd like to make a motion to approve on second reading an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of O'Fallon, Chapter 78, Parking Schedules, Schedule 4, Snow Routes.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call.
Smallhair,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
Affirmative?
Mylard,
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Lots.
Yes.
Carney,
Yes.
Foney.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg, 9.2, please.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve on second reading an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of O'Fallon, Chapter 77, Traffic Schedules.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call.
Monroe,
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Force.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
Affirmative?
Mylard,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Lots.
Yes.
Carney,
Yes.
Foney,
Yes.
Smallhair.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Parchman, 9.3, please.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to make a motion to approve on second reading an ordinance providing for the annual levy for the City of O'Fallon, County of St. Clair, Illinois, for the fiscal year commencing on the first day of May 2023 and ending on the 30th day of April 2024.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Yes, sir.
On the money that's coming back from the state to make up for the veterans exclusion, do we know how that money is going to come?
We do not have a definite schedule as to when it's going to come.
But how is it going to come? They're not gonna write us a check.
It'll
I,
come,
go ahead, Sandy.
it's my understanding it'll come through the county, kind of like has they disperse property taxes. So they have different schedules. From what we understand, it could be June or July when they start. It first has to get from the Department of Revenue. So the Department of Revenue now has the request at the end of December. Then the Department of Revenue will send it to the county, and then at that time, the county will disperse it. But we do not have an exact timeline.
Okay, and I'm not talking about the timing. I'm talking about in what form will we see the $272,000?
As we don't know, we don't have the full.
We don't know.
No.
We don't know the full
No.
process yet.
We don't know what the process is
Some
going to
kind of a
be.
credit or something like that.
Could be that, could be a deposit,
Right.
like they do with real estate taxes.
Good luck. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that? We have a motion, we have a second. Roll call.
Hudson.
Yes.
Borsch.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yeah.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Affirmative?
Mylar.
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Lotz.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Coney.
Yes.
Small here.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open it up for a second session of any comments that anybody would like to make. Is there anybody who would have any comments they'd like to make toward the council?
Vernal Air Ward 3. I come to a point trying to understand you people. I was going to bring some points up about what's on the warrant tonight and where the excess spending that it doesn't really matter. You're going to pay the bill anyway, and you're going to build this pool anyway, and you're going to spend the money anyway. My concern is everybody else around O'Fallon who has storm water issues or has water running through the back of their property where the creek is eroding their ground and everything else, and you do diddly squat about it. And you make them come up here and plead with you and everything else to try and get something done, and you say, oh, we don't have any money for it. What I'm hearing tonight is you got money and you don't know what to do with it. I don't understand it, and I'm completely ticked off way you are running things. And I hope there's some other people out there that are listening, believing what I'm saying, because I believe your left hand doesn't know what your right hand is doing. Oh, excuse me, I got that wrong. Your left hand doesn't know what your right hand does. Does it really matter? Because you people don't understand. No, I don't know if it's me, I don't know. I don't really care, but I'm just giving you my point of view on what is going on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have any comments? Okay. I would ask Mr. Miller to get into that contract information that he brought up so that we get you factual information to please come in and we will sit, please come in and we will sit down and go over it with, please come in and we'll go over it with you line by line.
Do it in public where everybody else can find out about it. It's not right to come the back doorway and talk about it.
It's not.
I want it up front, but everybody else knows what's going on.
Then you can explain it to everybody.
What?
Gentlemen, let's,
Your comments are over, sir. Okay?
No, yeah,
And,
I know it's over.
and
But you
as,
don't understand, the people don't understand what you're
Gentlemen,
saying
if-
twice in this document.
if you want to bring that up at the next city council meeting, after you guys have your discussion, whatever you guys find out together, and then you can bring it to the entire city during the council meeting, that's fine.
And then that automatically clears you for whatever's going on. I know how the game's played.
and I would also say that our Public Works Department is working on drainage. They work on drainage in a number of different areas and are looking at a number of different programs that can possibly be brought forward, but they're not going to do it in a slipshod type method. So, all right. I will move on at this point into community reports. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Community Development Committee met December 11th. Our draft minutes are attached. We had a few items to be covered, which were covered in council meeting this evening. Our next meeting will be on January 8th at 6 o'clock. Watch the website for details or changes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rosenberg, Public Works.
Thank you, sir. We have not met since the last city council meeting. Our next Public Works meeting is scheduled for the 22nd of January, 2024. Please watch the website for any time changes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vorst, Public Safety.
We have not met since our last meeting here, so our next scheduled meeting is January the 8th. Check the website for details.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Albrecht, Parks and Environment.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Parks and Environment Committee met on December 11th. The minutes are attached. The next meeting will be January 8th. I'd like to take this opportunity that there was an awful lot of discussion about, and you heard some of it again tonight, but that discussion doesn't appear anywhere. It's not in the minutes, and it's not, you know, we talk about, we're interested in what these people are saying, giving them an opportunity to talk, and they do the same thing at committee meeting, and they're not there. There's nothing in, if you read only the minutes, you would never know that that discussion went on. And it was 45 minutes.
That's why we also have it on recorded, that anybody can see everything and hear all the verbiage in full detail and no abbreviations.
Okay, I mean.
All right.
The one item that we had was, or the two items we talked about already.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Parchman, Finance and Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have not met since our last meeting, and our meeting for December is canceled due to issues that we got to talk about. So our next meeting will be January 22nd. We do have one item. We need to approve the warrant. So I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 528 in the amount of $2,772,962.25.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second on the warrant. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Vorse.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Affirmative.
Mylard.
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Lotz.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Small here.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
Okay, I thank you. We do have an executive session tonight, so I would like to ask for a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussions of the possible sale of city property.
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Campbell.
Yes.
Parchman.
Yes.
Van Hook.
Yes.
Rosenberg.
Affirmative.
Mylard.
Yes.
Albrecht.
Yep.
Lotz.
Yes.
Carney.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Small here.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Hudson.
Yes.
And Vorse.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
So
sir.
remind the viewers at home that we'll not be coming back live on Facebook and YouTube following the executive session.
Very good. Thank you.
Get away from the attorney.